老师。然后接下来我们第2位上场嘉宾，应该也有非常多的人可能在 YouTube 上看过他的视频，或者我知道在现场有很多人是通过他的内容，可能第一次了解到了 ComfyUI， 或者是学到了很多东西。然后这次也是非常的就是运气很好，这位嘉宾正好在亚洲，所以可以线下来到上海和我们一起在 ComfyCon 上面交流。让我们欢迎这个 Olivio， 他是目前这个 YouTube 上面非常有名的这个 ComfyUI 以及 AI 内容的教程制作者，然后他本人也是这个 AI 领域的技术专家。请他今天给我们分享他目前在这个开源还有跟 ComfyUI 相关的一些心路历程和他最新的一些想法。
Thank you. Hello, how are you doing? So, okay. So I hope this works because it's Linktree, so I'm not sure if you can access that, but there I have like my YouTube channel and Twitter and all my information. If not, you can also find me on YouTube. My channel is just my name, so you can find a lot of tutorials there on how to use all kinds of AI tools and create with that. Today, I want to speak about how to use ComfyUI as a powerhouse for content creators. So how can it be integrated? What can you do with that? So I want to show an example, and I think that example can be, adjusted to any kind of use of content creation, because I think the environment is changing. Everything is becoming more, more liquid, basically, so that the viewers can also be creators in the space of content creation with their reactions, with how they can interact with the content creators. And one thing that I think like ComfyUI has a very unique position in is on how it can be integrated in all of these kind of things. Because if you think about a lot of the platforms we have right now with ChatGPT, with Midjourney, and so on, they are all little islands, but they are not connected to each other. You always have to create something, you have to download it, you have to adjust it, and then upload it to another thing, but it's not integrated anywhere. So it's always separated, it's always only doing the one thing it can do, and then if you want to have more, you have to go to another platform, which of course makes it like not as useful as AI. And so what we need is to say, hey, come over here, come where I am. I don't want to come to you, to your platform to do stuff. I want it to be where I am, as a creator, as a viewer, as a gamer, as someone who wants to interact with AI. But most of the tools don't have that yet. And I think for the next, like, let's say 2-3 years, this is going to be the biggest question, is how do I bring AI to where the users are, the creators are, the designers are, where it's integrated into their software. And of course, everybody wants to have their $20. So you want to make some text, that's $20. You want to make some music, another $20. You want to make some 3D, another $20. Because every service is its own service, it's not connected to each other. And that's also a problem. Like, how much money can you have to have all of these services, especially as a user, as a hobbyist, if you just want to play around with it? You can't have it, right? If you have 10 services, $200 per month, that's just not possible, right? So, of course, the big solution to that is to integrate it to where it's actually used for the people who want to interact with that. And especially for content creators, that is like integrating it into their content, but also into the software or the interface, the social media page they use to interact with their community, right? So, instead of showing you all these kind of like different workflows, because I think we already all know how to create an image or a video or things like that in ComfyUI, I want to talk more about the concept itself, because then you can find your own solutions on how you want to integrate that into what you are creating. It doesn't have to be content creation, it can be any kind of like product. And the example I want to show you today is live RPG, because that is something where you already have the ability to tell a story, create a story on the go, and play it out with the viewers together. If you don't know what live RPG is, It's basically like a tabletop game like Dungeons and Dragons where people play it. So the guy in the middle is the game master. He is creating a story. And then we have the players around that. They are usually the YouTube stars or the Twitch streamers, and they play it, and the people can watch it, right? And so they are live reacting to that. They are playing. There's the board in the middle where this is played out. So already it's a very versatile space where you can create stories. It's live, it's interactive, there's a lot of emotion in there. So it's a form of game that is already very much made for being interacted more with AI, right? And the interesting thing is also on the side of the viewer, it's already very interactive. You see, like, this is a German viewer. He's called Gronk, and he has a very nice interface, lots of interactions. Like here, if you view him or you subscribe for a certain amount of time, it pops up with your name. You get a title of your tier. You see the latest donations. You see the resubs there, the chat reactions with the emojis and all that kind of stuff. There is cross-promotion to his platform where you can also watch the video. So there's already a lot of interaction there. But all of that, as you can see, of course, is pre-created. It's not live created. It's just like he figured it out with his design team, and then it's shown on the stream. And you are just a viewer. You're just sitting there. You're watching it, and you can interact with it a little bit, but only in the way it has been pre-created before. And of course, AI can go way further than that. So that's the future of AI is, in my perspective, the live creation of content, the live storytelling of content in interaction with the viewer, right? So one thing, like I want to show you, let's go back one second to this. So there has been a company, I think about like 10 years ago, it was called Hyper RPG. And what they did was, it was live role-playing, but then they also had a gaming world where all of the NPCs in the gaming world have been gamers themselves. So if you're a viewer of that channel, you can create a character, and then you are a character in that world. And occasionally, your character would be part of their live stream. So you would be on screen as a character, and they would interact with you, not with you directly, but your character would pop up in the story that they're telling at that moment, which of course is amazing if you're a fan of the channel and suddenly you see your own character being on there doing some stuff. That is already pretty amazing, right? So it's a complete economy, basically, that is interacting between the streamer and the viewers, right? So you have, of course, the streamers that are acting, main stars, so you can connect with them. And then you can become a character in their story as an NPC, but as a viewer, and you can interact with other viewers, which is also interesting. So they have basically their own platform with their own stories played out. You also have an economy. I think that's also an important part of that is somewhere as a creator, you need to make money, right? And if you have live content, if the viewer is part of the content creation, there's a lot more ability to monetize that and make it into something where it is interesting for the community to have a subscription, to give donations, to help build the world and support the creators and things like that. And with that, you can have an interesting form of monetization. But also you have a dynamic world that connects all of that together and is growing over time with the community. So it's not a static thing. You're not dependent on any kind of game that might end with the story or might go into a boring direction. You can take the live feedback from your audience, and every time you go live, you can do something that is interesting to the community. You can react to the emotions of the community. You can react to live events in the world. So it's an endless story that can go in any kind of direction you want together with your community, right? So this is like a little bit of an overview. And one thing that's interesting here, like of course, often when I talk with people and say, hey, I can create content for you while you watch it, one of the critique points is, yeah, but then a part of consuming entertainment is not just watching it. It is that at the next day, I want to talk with other people about what we have seen. So you want to have a shared experience at the same time that you have experienced together as a moment. And I think this can be a unique setup because at the same time, this is live and interactively created through AI, but you have one connection point, which is the streamer. So everybody can talk about what has happened in the stream. They've all seen the same thing, but then also you have the audience, which basically has two spaces. One space is the chat in the live stream. The other space is an app where they can interact with each other, they can do their own quests, they can create resources, they can craft things, all of that, which can be created with a lot of different specific workflows through ComfyUI to create that either for the app or for the chat or for the live stream to create a game world afterwards together out of all of that output. So that can be a very unique and very interesting experience. And one thing I also like, this is also what I saw from the last conference I was in Bangkok. It was called Unfest. These kind of screens like that is increasingly used not just in film and video production, but also for live streamers and content creators, because the difference to a green screen is I can see what's going on behind me, so I can actually interact with the world, and also the camera and the lighting brings me into that situation better than with a green screen. So that could be a concept that makes this interaction even more alive than it is when it's just a green screen, this brings it more into the real world basically, but it's just an element, you don't have to have that. So when we talk about the active world basically that is happening on the platform side, you can see how you can integrate AI in a lot of different things, right? AI can help you write the world story. It can create world events for you. It can, of course, make music and sound effects, things like that. And this is not just that you say, oh, I have some nice fantasy music in the background. You can write lyrics that are reacting to what is happening right now in the gaming world, and this can also become memes, or it can celebrate something like an event or a birthday of the streamer or things like that. So that's actually integrated into the culture of that gaming world, right? You can also have community projects where everybody's working together towards one goal. You can have quests that either quests for the streamers or quests that the community does for themselves. And of course, they can, inside of that app, do crafting. They have their statistics. They can chat with each other outside of the stream. And this is also an important element of that is, in this kind of concept, this can go on even when the stream is not online, because they can still interact with each other on the app and do quests and collect materials and fulfill these projects to further the game world. So this is always on, basically. It's really interesting. And then, of course, you have the other part that is the dynamic world story that you can also create through AI. And as we know with ComfyUI, it can become very complex in what you can achieve with that, right? So when you have something, when you create something like a new storyline or a new quest event, the AI can create the story, it can create the location, it can create the different elements in there, the different actors in there, and render everything out and bring it together as one result afterwards. So AI can automate a whole process of creation for the next event, what they want to do in their live stream, right? So that can be for the lore, the world events, and so on. The backstories of the NPCs, of course, also, which is really interesting, that you can, because like creativity is something that doesn't come easy to I would say, like everyday people who are not trained on creativity, but with AI, of course, you can create a very interesting backstory for your own character and then play off that, right? So you can add more depth even to your own character, but also to the gaming world. Of course, the world and location description, everything becomes more deeper, more rich. So that's very interesting. You can have the factions and the guilds. So this is very interesting for the identity of the viewers, of the gamers, to connect with each other, but also for the world lore, because you always have to have factions fighting against each other or cooperating with each other, right? Let's show some examples here. This is, for example, this could be interesting for the part of the monetization, where you say, if you have like a basic tier, let's say $5 a month, you become one of the common characters, which could be like a trader or I don't know, someone who's keeping an inn, or someone who's working in a I don't know, like definitely a blacksmith or things like that, right? If you have a higher tier, you could maybe become a VIP NPC who has a higher position, is maybe a quest giver, things like that. So you can have different dimensions in there. They have different abilities and powers, right? And they are just part of the backstory still. So they might come up in the stream. They are part of the gaming world. They are interacting with the other viewers. But occasionally also they come up in the stream, and their character will be, for example, the quest giver for the next big quest that is happening in the gaming world of the live stream, right? And all that can be created in the background through AI. That's the interesting part. And this is why I think ComfyUI has a very unique position here, because ComfyUI is basically one of the very rare situations where you can integrate the workflows through the APIs on the server right into your gaming environment, right? Because other platforms, they are separated. Everything is like, has their like little island and you can't connect that. But with ComfyUI, I can create the text, I can create the visuals, the sound effects, the 3D models, everything I want, and output it on the other side to where I need it through the different APIs. Let me show you other examples. One thing I personally also find is a very important use of AI that we should see way, way more than we see it right now is these like reactions. So it's personalized emotional reactions, because like memes and emojis and images, photos have become part of our spoken language, basically. There's a lot of things we don't express anymore through saying it in words. We express it through an emoji or a meme because it carries, it carries the emotion better, and it explains better what is going on, and it also connects culturally to what I want to do. So for example, there might be through the character design an inside joke that I can only create when I create it myself through AI. So AI makes this kind of reaction way, way more alive. Of course, memes are very important for us, but creating our own memes is even more important and also part of our future, because again, this kind of visual language, visual interaction with each other is becoming increasingly a part how we communicate. Instead of talking to each other, we use these memes because they transfer actual emotion. A lot of what we do as interaction now is more based on what we feel rather than what we say factually, right? And memes are a huge part of that. But let's talk about also should we skip? No, let's talk about that a little bit. Like world building, that of course can be a huge part where it can be played out by the streamers, where the community is creating the world or the streamers are creating the world, where they can go on with the story, and they have an actual visualization for that. That's the nice thing, because often tabletops are just, you are viewing the gamers as they sit on their table and play it out, and that might be cool, but actually having a visual where you can see it and you can feel what is going on, and it sets the tone and the emotion of what is going on, that can be even more impactful, right? And you can also do it in interaction with the community. This is an example here of creating a dynamic world event. So this is one thing I created more or less in one go, where I said to the, like you have a structure in the AI where you say, this is the event I want to have. Make for me a region description on what it is. Then I want to have also location description on where specifically it plays out. I want to have a hero character, I want to have a villain character, I want to have their powers and descriptions of who they are, why they do these things, and then create prompts for me for each of those, and then create a variation like 4 images for each so I can select from that. And then I have a complete quest with the characters, with the visuals, everything that I can use on my live stream to play that out as a live RPG, and all created in one go with the AI. And through the APIs, I can send it to the different areas where I need to have it in the live stream. So this is really super interactive gameplay where you create the world and the events with your community. And another interesting part here I talked before about is community projects. So what they are in gaming is, for example, you say you want to build a ship, But this ship is something where the community works on it, let's say, for a week, because it needs like tons and tons of resources. They have to gather, they have to craft, they have to put in time to create the different elements of the ship and then put it together. So you need, let's say, 5,000 players donating 100,000 units of the different resources that then also put in time to create that stuff. And this community goal together is something that brings the community together to work on one common goal. And then because of that, the creation of that ship is way more worth in the mind of the players. And you could, afterwards, the streamers can take the ship to go on an expedition to a new island or things like that, right? And you already have that in video games, but here it is something you can create live together with your audience. And of course, all these visuals and everything has, like every image, everything, every text you've seen in the has been created by AI. Well, not this text, of course, but before in the images that is AI created. So you don't need to touch anything. You can just have the AI create all these kind of icons and then use it with your community. So, yeah. This is, I think, like, this is maybe an example that like would involve most of what you can do or all of what you can do with AI today in one concept. But you can always pick just one part where you say, hey, that's interesting for my content creation or what I want to do, even with your customers. If you're a business, like gamification of your business, of your service is a very important thing because it creates a culture between you and your users or your customers. So you can pick any part of that and try to integrate it into your product. Okay, good. So yeah, that's basically it. And I hope this is going to be the future in the next 2-3 years, to see a lot of integration in actually where AI is being used by the users and by the creators rather than individual platforms. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Can we take a few questions? 有没有需要提问的观众？
Great presentation, and I'm actually a big fan. I accidentally entered AI image generator field from like August last year, and your videos helped me a lot to find my path. Okay, so my question is, so the first one is like, I think every player wants to be some sort of main character in the game. So I'm a bit worried that this word, this active word, could be eventually evolve to some sort of like every character is some sort of main character. Like you randomly met a farmer on the street, and then you find he used to be a knight or used to be a king, and he killed a dragon, and then he accidentally became a farmer eventually, and it can be a bit of like it can damage the reliability of the word, right?
Right.
And the second question is that.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So I think
yes.
for now, consistency is a big problem for
yes.
like both character and location, and I think. If you need to edit all of the AI-generated information, it can be very time-consuming. And
right.
I can see the relevance of AI tools you use here. Like if you have to use a lot of time to edit the image, for example, like we can draw them by hand, right?
Right. I see.
Okay,
yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think like what you ask is like two parts is like how can the like gaming world evolve over time without breaking down, and the other one is like the quality of the content that is generated, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so on the one hand, on the side of the evolving world, you have to have a good amount of moderation from the team who is organizing it. So it is bringing the community to do certain things and go down certain routes. So it's not going to be completely wild, right? And you also want to have, like, for example, if everybody's joining just one faction and the other faction has only like 10 members, you can't have a war with them. So you have to manipulate the audience and push them into a direction so everything stays in balance and everything is going towards like an enjoyable gaming experience, right? But you can, because you have control over the gaming world, you can do that. You can give different incentives. You can create different world events that push the community into different directions. But also because everything is playing out on the stream, after all, you have the final decision of what is actually ending up on the stream and what is happening in the world. So which part you're picking up, which part you're not picking up from what is happening in the community. From the side of the quality, I feel like a lot of AI today already has a very good quality, but also if you have like a generation, let's say you want to create a new character and it creates like 8 different versions of the character and you choose the best one, you still get a result you can use. It's not, of course, as incremental as we have in video games where you can choose the beard and the hairstyle and the glasses and the tattoo and stuff like that, but it also doesn't have to be like that specific, I feel like, because people still understand, oh, AI still has their limitations and it can only be used to a certain extent. Now, one thing you have to have control over is that people are not going crazy with the kind of characters they create to create some nudity or some racism or whatnot inside of the video game, so you have to moderation on that and put some filters on top of that to limit that kind of thing. But I still think with the moderation and with the quality AI already has, and with also the injection you can have through the model training and the words you filter out or the injection of words into the prompts that the community is writing, you can still have a good control over the style and over the output that is created. But it still of course needs a lot of work. So this is more something for a stream that already has a team that is working with them, with moderators and designers and cameramen and stuff in the background. It might be a little bit too complex for someone who is just one person, but they can do the same thing and just like pick up 1 or 2 parts of that. It doesn't have to be everything, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you again.
There's maybe one more
last
question?
one.
Do we have more time? Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Hi, thank you for your impressive speech. And currently I'm an algorithm engineer. And my question I want to ask you is that, how do you think about the relation between the workflow and the base model? Because in my perspective, previously why people are so focused on the workflow, one of the biggest reasons is that the base model is not good enough. It cannot just meet our demands in maybe just one prompt. So we have to kind of separate the workflow into different small steps and use different model and use different specific parameters to do those small steps.
You mean like from the artistic style of the model, or?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, I mean, if you can train LoRa's on the style you want to have, or like have input images that are being used as a source for artistic inspiration. Like we've seen yesterday talks about creating LoRa's or mixing LoRa's together to create new styles for what you want to create. But I would also suggest to, for example, use image inputs or use ControlNet to have a control over the composition and structure of the image. So for example, you can easily create a template where the character is always like frontal as an avatar. So you always have the same kind of position for all of the avatars in, for example, the gaming app you want to have. Or you can have other composition on where is the character standing, or how does the world setup look if you have a scene you want to play out. For example, you want to have a top-down map for playing. So you can have a LoRa that is trained specifically on these top-down maps. So when you create something, it has this look with the pathways and the different things. There might be errors in there, but I think at the moment it's acceptable because that the technology is so new that on the one side the community understands it's not going to be perfect in every detail, but also through the innovation, a lot of mistakes and errors have to be made, so we can have that innovation, but everybody understands that it's gonna be a little bit shitty at the beginning, but then it's be better over time. And you have to, like, if you think about video games, at the start they had so many like mistakes with clipping and bad graphics and crashing and all these kind of things, but everybody was okay with that because it was the early days of gaming. Of course, now it's a big problem if they have these mistakes, but at the beginning, it's no problem, right? So I think people will be okay with that, but you can also, especially through ComfyUI, with all of the things you can do inside of a workflow, manipulate it to a certain output you want to have.
Okay. So my question is, do you think maybe when in the future the base model is good enough, so the workflow will be just a middle stop of the development of the application of AI?
What? Sorry, I didn't understand the second part. Can you speak a little bit louder? Sorry.
Will it be better? Okay. So my question is, do you think if the base model is developed good enough in the future, do you think the workflow, this kind of paradigm of this kind of work framework will just be a middle stop of the development of the AI application?
I'm not quite sure what you asked. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. I think like if it's about the artistic style, I think like a base model is great to create like common styles we already know. But if you want to have something unique, it's better if you create something, train it as a LoRa, and combine it with the main model. Is that what you're asking, or I'm not quite sure? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the question. 因为时间关系，然后我觉得关于这个话题可以，咱们直接之后跟这个老师来讨论。Yeah, thank you so much for answering. 接下来。